Good morning. I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye, present.
Mr. Fairfield? Mr. Hess? Ms. Polk?
Present.
Ms. Weber? Ms. Parker?
Present.
Mr. Seroy? Mr. Swanson?
Present.
Mr. Featherling? Mr. Dennell? Mr. Miller? Mr. Long? Mr. Hunter? Ms. Foster? Ms. Summer Earps? Mr. Wheeler? Mr. Alexander Hildebrand? We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. Can I have a motion to allow Ms. Parker and Mr. Swanson to go ahead and enter via Zoom? Motion by Mr. Donnell, second by Mr. Hess. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, you guys. Next up, public comment. I have no slips of public comment. Anybody in the back have public comment? Seeing none. Next up is the approval minutes from October 25th, 2023. Can I have a motion to approve? Mr. Fairfield, second by
Parker.
Ms. Polk. All in favor say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. There are no presentations, so next up is Mr. McCarty.
I waited to see if Nick was going to go first.
Yeah, we're not going to go ahead and amend the agenda for him. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. We'll start out with the miscellaneous reports that we look at every month. Everything still looks good. Sales tax, the bed rental, and the other taxes are kind of what we expected at this point, so we spent a lot of time on that. And also, if someone has any questions, question or not.
Any questions from the committee? No questions. Numbers look good. Cash flow update.
Yeah, cash flow. No issues. I'm working on opening up fiscal year 2024 up to July, but at this point, no issues. So this is an update. It's all good. Good.
Any questions for Steve? Next up, claims recommended for approval, not approval. Mr. Donnell.
I move that we combine and approve these.
Okay, combine and approve, second. Mr. Long. Steve, do you want to go ahead and highlight them and just read them into the record?
Read them into the record,
Yep.
sure. We have one for the Illinois Bone and Joint Institute. One for Andy Meyer, so employee reimbursement. One for Hervis Condon and Bersani, employee matter. SAQ Consulting. Credit card, the coroner's account, and no, Taylor's the other part. That's for the claims.
Okay, Sheriff.
Hey, good morning. It's me again, as it is every month. So the claim that you're looking at on the screen is a claim from, I believe, Illinois Bone and Joint, IBJI, for $12,500. As you all know, we have a person in our who is employed in our office who deals with medical claims, and she is a medical code expert, and anybody who has a question about their medical claim should contact her and have her review your medical claims like we do. So the total amount that we paid on that $12,500 bill is $23.59.
Ooh.
Now, if you look at that picture up there, that is her chicken scratch. And believe me, I'm not going to criticize anybody for their handwriting. But that's her own notes. So she sent the claim, and I don't think I gave that to you, Kelly, did I?
They have the claim.
In the packet, I think.
In the packet.
Doesn't matter, I can read it. I have my glasses. it says, please verify if $23.59 or $23.57. Are you frickin' kidding me? So the potential cost savings of his claim would be 2 cents, of which between my office, Katie, who does the medical claim, Steve's office, who gets the email, and his entire staff, we have spent well over 2 cents for something that could have been taken care of via a phone call, or as he does with, I think, every other department in the county, a simple email. But instead, we're all here wasting your time. We've wasted Steve's time. We've wasted my office's time for not $2,000, for 2 cents. I mean, when is this going to end? When is this going to end? It is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen. And I mean, believe me, I've seen a lot of claims that aren't recommended for one reason or another. They're ridiculous too. But this one probably takes the cake. Instead of paying $12,500, we pay $23.59. Now, I would encourage you, and I know the screens are far away, and maybe you have them in your packet. I would encourage you to look at that number and see if that is a 9 or a 7. At first glance to me, it certainly looks like a 9. But we've wasted all this time over 2 pennies.
Exactly.
So I would just, I don't know what the solution is, because as you guys know, I'm going to be here every month. I know it's personal with our office, and if that's how we want to play the game, I can play the game all day long. I'll stand here and defend everything that we do. Now, I will give you a caveat, with the exception of the last claim, which I had an officer who was at ILEAS training for a week, and on his last receipt, he had a beer for $6 that our guy purchased. Not supposed to. He knows it. Amy knows it. And we missed it. Those are the things that he should be focusing on, instead of whether we pay $12,500 or $23.59 or $23.57. I mean, it is so ludicrous. So I can go over the second claim too, because I'm sure I have some issues with that as well. That is to the law firm of Hervis, Connon and Bersani. As you all know, or should know, or if you don't know, we handle all the FOIAs that come in through Kankakee County, with the exception of the auditor. Shocking. So there are FOIAs that involve potential lawsuits to our jail or the sheriff's office. We have made the decision to say, you know what? Hervis, Connon and Bersani represent us on every single lawsuit that we have within the county. And so to prevent potential litigation, we have worked with them to handle our FOIAs, and they bill us. And I think his explanation was, why do we hire outside counsel when we have our own legal division? Mm. And if I were you as a committee, I would ask him the same question. Why does he use outside counsel? Well, I get that. Yeah, I get
Mr. Huss, can you say that on the microphone?
I said, first of all, he's not here. We can't ask him anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I got. I would certainly appreciate you recommending those for payment, and I'll see you next month.
Sheriff, just a question from me. So like the $6.69 with the beer, we should go ahead and not reimburse the $6.69.
Yeah. Yeah. And he already know. Our employee already knows.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So can the first and the second, would you be willing to go ahead and change your motions for the reimbursement dollar amount for Andy Meyer to go ahead and be $109.80? Okay. First and second agrees to that. Ms. Parker, your hand was up.
Yes. First of all, I went over those claims very carefully yesterday, that clearly was a 9. There was no doubt about it. And I have to say, I agree with the sheriff. This is very unprofessional of our auditor to do these little post-it notes each month. He should contact the department heads or the person that has filed the claim. But every month we go through this, having to try to read these little tiny post-it notes from him, and yet he doesn't show up so we can ask questions. He doesn't communicate with the people who need to be communicated with. So I agree with this, Sheriff. I'm pretty fed up with this every month, and I know exactly what needs to be done, but I can't say it here.
Mr. Hunter, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff Downey, I'd probably like to echo the sentiments of what has been said before me. With respect to the auditor's office, when was the last time that his office or he has personally contacted you regarding any of these claims or any previous claims?
He would probably not contact me. He would, if he would, which he hasn't, he would probably contact our finance person, who is Amy Ludke.
You said if.
If, yeah.
Has he?
So actually, Mr. Hunter, I sent him an email because I did find out that he does send emails to other department heads who might have made a mistake or an error on or he has a question on. He has sent those emails to those people, and he has indicated in the email that an email confirmation back would suffice for him to recommend for payment. So I took it upon myself to email him and Marcia both and said, hey, if we're doing this for these people, I would certainly suggest that we do it for our department as well, because we have email too. And I know you'll find this surprising, but I got no response from either.
Okay. When was specifically, Sheriff Downey, when was the last time you had a conversation here in this building with the auditor about any county business?
I think I might have congratulated him on getting elected 2 terms ago.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Hess?
I'm a little concerned with this SAQ Consulting. I think this passed unanimously through the board.
Correct, and this is the first month that he's actually flagged the claim.
Right, this is the first
for
month.
a while, no?
But
it's been a while since he's flagged that claim, though.
If it's passed through the board, why does he say on here, would need more info on this procurement? I mean, that's the way I read it, at least. Large dollar amount for whatever services, consulting firms. I have a hard time reading it, but you know, if it's passed through the board, it should be his decision not to pay the bill, correct?
Well, we're passing it on because, so you can see the note and to make sure it gets blessed to be able to pay it. So
I'd like to amend the motion then and put on that we don't bring this back every month. It's passed through the board, pay the bill.
So SAQ keeps going.
First and second agrees. Okay. There's been an amendment. Is that it? Anybody else? Mr. Africano?
Yeah, just, is this on?
Yep.
I as the sheriff was talking, I realized that I had an email from Steve about an invoice that wasn't recommended for payment that he sent down to me. Steve did, and it was a very simple question, and I sent Jake an email, and I said to Jake, so I just want to let you know what I sent to him and what he communicated back to me. I said, Jake, per your note on the claim for Eastgate Communication, the purpose of the advertising is to communicate information relevant to the Kankakee County Treasurer's Office and any other office who asks to be involved. In the future, a quick email can answer these questions. Regards, Nick. And he responded, Nick, as stated in the past, if the workflow wasn't what it is, we would approach things differently. Alas, we cannot change anything, hence the lawsuit. Thus, we will continue to make notes and move on. However the finance department deals with it from there is up to them and Chairman Wheeler. Thanks, regards, Jake. So, a waste of time.
Any other comments from the committee? We have a motion on the floor. Roll call.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield? Mr. Hess? Ms. Polk?
Aye.
Ms. Weber? Ms. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Featherling? Mr. Dennell? Mr. Miller? Mr. Long? Mr. Hunter? Ms. Armour Ernst? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Next up is monthly claims.
Motion to amend.
We already we acknowledged it, and the first and second acknowledged the amendment to the motion for Mr. Hess.
Okay, so
We amended the motion for the beverage reimbursement to only be $109.80. Then Mr. Hess went ahead and made an amendment to that motion, and the first and second agreed to it.
I thought we approved the amendment, then we vote on the amended. Okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah, no, it's combined.
Okay.
You got it? Yeah. Yes, yeah, correct. Next up is monthly claims. Any questions for Steve on this? Motion by Mr. Fairfield, second by Mr. Donald to approve the monthly claims. Roll call.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield? Mr. Hess? Ms. Polk?
Aye.
Ms. Weber? Ms. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Featherling? Mr. Dennell? Mr. Miller? Mr. Long? Mr. Hunter? Ms. Armour Ernst? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Chairman Wheeler.
Mr. Chairman, just to circle back for a minute, I usually don't read these claims not recommended once they're here because they're usually so ridiculously frivolous and petty. They have nothing to do with business. They're usually political. I'm noticing one here for the sheriff's vans that we found. You know, when we find vans or vehicles, we grab them because they're not available.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a continued reiteration of the fact that my signature is not accepted as an authorized signature by the auditor's office for purchases, even though the county board and frankly the voters of this county have elected me and this board to do just that. He thinks he's above this board and can tell us what to do and what not to do, and that my signature is not good for purchases when it's been authorized by this board. So I wanted to draw attention to that, and also to draw attention to the fact that we've already voted to say that, because he's complained about this before, that he does not consider me an authorized signer of invoices or claims, excuse me, that they don't need to come back here. Because it's a ridiculous assertion that I'm not authorized to sign for these. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't think we need to waste any more time with this absent elected official than we need to, frankly.
And to point out, that's actually signed by his chief deputy, not by him. But understood. So is that a motion?
That's his office.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we already made the motion.
Okay.
It didn't need to come. I guess I want to make sure that Steve is in agreement.
This is for Taylor Ford. This was a separate just because of the purchases, Andy, but there is a note on this one as well.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm sorry. I thought that was
it's got both. It's here
Okay.
for two reasons.
I'm sorry. It's just it just becomes just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a clown circus that we have to deal with on a daily basis.
All right. So Steve, purchase
so-
of 5 vehicles.
Yeah, so noted on their note, but it's also here as a follow-up from a previous finance committee approval to go ahead and order these vans. It's been quite a while ago. So we got the claim going and got the check written, and we're following up to make sure the finance committee blesses the actual purchase. So we have this here as well. So since it's $257,000, we brought it separate.
Mr. Hess with the motion? Okay, motion to purchase, second by Mr. Long. Any discussion from the committee or department head? Mr. Featherling.
Sheriff, will these tide you over for a little bit, or how many vans do you have? I just was kind of curious how many you actually have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, actually, our van fleet has been depleted.
Yeah.
For the most part, miles wise, and we have actually been utilizing as best we can some of the squad cars we've replaced with Tahoes. So the unfortunate part is we cannot transport more than one normally in a Tahoe. So with the Safety Act and having to, as we've talked about in criminal justice, bringing those who are in custody over to the courthouse now for the detention hearings starting in March, we're going to need a bigger vehicle. So
I didn't know how many vans.
yeah,
So you're
we've
using Tahoes
we've
now
still
instead of
got like
vans?
2 that are, have relatively low miles, but all the other ones are, we shouldn't really be having them on the road for any extended trip.
This saves you having to have another car for each guy?
Yes.
Basically?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Got our use out of that one.
Mr. Hunter.
Yeah, just, Sheriff, you just mentioned that starting in March. Now, I remember some discussions about videos and all that stuff. So you're saying that's another impact or requirement with the Safety Act?
Yeah, so what happened, Mr. Hunter, is back when the Safety Act went into effect on September 18th, according to the Safety Act, these individuals are to be in person in court. And the Illinois Supreme Court allowed us a 6-month reprieve, if you will, to do them via video. And in conversations with our judges, they are looking to starting to move these inmates in person in March, which is when March 18th, I believe, is when when that 6-month reprieve starts.
Okay, so to a person, because I was discussing the implications of the Safety Act with some group or something recently, and to a
Can you use your microphone, Steve?
Yeah, I thought it was. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
And to a person, each person indicated that it required more resources and more time. And I might imagine from what you're indicating that it's going to require more personnel, more use of your personnel. And if you're down, that's going to create a adverse impact upon your staff. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's accurate. I mean, obviously, our jail administrators, we are working to, get our staff up to our numbers that we need, and they're doing a great job with it. But that's an accurate statement. If we are short-staffed, then it will be an additional burden.
So I would imagine, since you're, really involved with the Sheriff's Association, that would probably be something that you could provide to your fellow sheriffs about undue hardship being placed upon the sheriff's departments throughout. So just another reason or some concern about the implications of the Safety Act.
Yep, that's true. Thank you.
Mr. Long.
Sheriff Downey, maybe you could speak to the
Just stand by the microphone.
maybe you could speak to the additional liability of moving those prisoners around and that's brought by this decision.
Well, there obviously is certainly more liability from the standpoint of safety and security. And then once we get them to the courthouse, obviously we would much rather utilize the video so that we don't have to transport anybody outside our building. That doesn't require it. Obviously, when individuals go to trial, when they have specific motions, they are required to be in court. That's the liability that we have. But the additional liability from the safety and security standpoint of moving larger numbers of inmates is certainly going to be problematic for not only Kankakee County, but for probably every county across the state.
Any other questions from the committee? Thank you. All right, so Steve gave us the rundown on this. Can I have a motion and a second to approve? Oh, we already did. Okay, sorry about that. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield? Mr. Hess? Ms. Polk?
Aye.
Ms. Weber? Ms. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Featherling? Mr. Dennell? Mr. Miller? Mr. Long? Mr. Hunter? Ms. Armour Herbst? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you, Kelly, for that. Next up is the 2023 audit engagement letter.
Yes, this is to begin the audit for fiscal year 2023. The main portion of the audit for general fund and all of our special funds will be $62,400. The other dollar amounts get broke out and are paid for by other sources, namely the circuit clerk, health department, ETSB board. So we're all underneath the one audit umbrella, if you will. So this is here to get started for a new fiscal year audit.
And the total dollar amount's $90,750. Motion to approve. Motion by Ms. Weber, second by Mr. Fairfield. Any discussion? Chairman Wheeler.
Thank you. Steve, it seems like we included some under our audit for convenience sake, as I remember, and then others, they're part of our overall corporate structure, if you will, because we set their levy, maybe the health department. I guess I'm trying to figure out, and if for the committees, I get maybe education, if an audit finding happens in a non-affiliated department, if you will, like CANCOM, and they're under our audit, that becomes our audit finding.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the only reason I asked that question, Steve, is do we have any potential recommended, without being punitive, should we take a look at, do we have a pain point that we should analyze in terms of this audit engagement letter and who's with us, so to speak? And I don't mean that in a negative way, but we do have to protect the financial standing of the county administration as a whole.
Yeah, and there's also federal guidelines that go along with this that mandate how it's supposed to be reported and things. So that there's a lot of levels to this, and that also dictates why everybody ends up underneath one umbrella, and why we sometimes, for the grant side of it, if there is a problem somewhere else, we have to take it on because everything's under one roof.
So it is where it is now. Everything is where it's supposed to be. Yeah. We assume some risk, and that's just the way that it is.
It's unfortunately,
okay.
Thank
you. You see why I asked that question, Mr. Chairman, because now's the time to address it.
Yeah, and we went ahead and sent this out for bid a couple of years ago, right? Just to go ahead and check, costs. So, anybody else? Comments, discussion? If not, roll call.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield? Aye. Mr. Hess? Aye. Ms. Polk?
Aye.
Ms. Weber? Aye. Ms. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Featherling? Aye. Mr. Dennell? Aye. Mr. Miller? Aye. Mr. Long? Aye. Mr. Hunter? Aye. Ms. Armour Herbst? Aye. Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Next up is tax year 2023 levy request.
All right. Kelly, do you have that PowerPoint? You have this information in your packet as well. We're also going to put it up on the screen. We have some historical data for you as far as the county's portion of the tax bill, which has historically been between 8 and 10% of the entire bill. So that's what we're discussing right now, is the county portion only. The information is going to be kind of hard to read. Why don't we go to the graph, Kelly, if you don't mind. So this is the historical trend as far as the county's request percentage versus the EAB percentage. So the reason that the EAB percentage is important is because that is the primary factor that determines the calculation of what the value of a home or a business is worth. So as the EAB has continued to gone up, and this year is estimated the 9.5% increase, you can see that the county has been going in opposite directions of the EAB and not requesting as much as we could. So this year's request is a negative 3.2%. So bottom line is we're requesting just over 800,000 less than what we collected last year. So that is great news for the taxpayer. And the final page, if you will, Kelly, is the actual request. So compared to the total extension last year of $25.1 million, this year's total request is $24,383,000, 3.2% less. And as you can see, all the factors are broke out, and all the funds, if you will, requirements underneath our levy are laid out there to show the total as well.
Can I get a motion and a second to approve the request? Motion by Mr. Hunter, second by Ms. Polk. Discussion. I just want to go ahead and highlight really quick that you'll go ahead and see in like the newspaper and other forms of media that other taxing bodies are, you know, requesting 9.64%, another one at 6.5%, another one at 9.84%. We're doing a negative request, which is unheard of. On top of that, if you go ahead and see the tax rate, we're going to go ahead and be below 1.00, and this tax rate for this year is going to go ahead and be 0.9123. We're doing everything that we can go ahead and do to go ahead and combat on behalf of the taxpayer the EAV going up 9.5%. I just want that to go ahead and be highlighted. Mr. Hunter.
I turned around and gave the chairman a fist bump. In light of the comments that you've made in terms of not asking for the 800,000+, will you, in collaboration with Steve and chairman, do a press release on that? Because you know, people need to know that. I mean, it's nice for us to articulate during this committee, but there are a lot of people need to understand what we as a body have done, and utilizing our due diligence as a board to address this, you know, for the taxpayers.
And I agree with that, and I think that probably definitely will go ahead and happen. And to go ahead and piggyback off your comment, Mr. Hunter, last year we went ahead and paid off $1.4 million roughly in bonds for the old court system. This year, another $1.5 million in bonds for Jerome Combs. So this board is going in a fiscally responsible and conservative way as possible.
And the Democrats concur. You know.
It's a bipartisan.
Yeah, it is.
It's bipartisan, this board. Any other comments? Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you, and I think your point is well taken. That, you know, while we have revenues, because in government, where does money come from? We don't sell products. It comes from taxation somewhere or a fee for service somewhere. In this case, we have fee for services that were not paid for by county residents, meaning bed rentals. So that money is going to paying off the jail, which was the original intent, and other things. So that's why you're seeing negatives. I mean, the in terms of numbers, and I hope that people realize, the taxpayers, that even though we're only 10% of your bill, we're trying to do everything we can while we can. You know, there's something to be said for having too much money. I keep telling people that, and this came from them through, like, when inflation hits. Well, that's more sales tax because your products are costing you more. So we're trying to give this stuff back to them to survive, because we're all surviving in that aspect. So the other thing is I didn't want it to fall by the wayside in the past up until this year. The VAC has been under our levy, meaning when we put out a levy, like the health department and the bridge and highway and all corporate fund, all of that is under us. There's a new state law the legislature and then the governor signed off on that moved it out of our tax levy and created its own tax assessment tax outside of the levy. And so that's why you see that 133% increase to VAC. It's a good use of money for our veterans, don't get me wrong, and frankly, of all of our departments under our tax levy, they were the highest increasing by percentage the whole time that I've been here since 16, at least this administration. So they're continuing that, but the public does need to know that it falls to them. You know, most mandates are unfunded, as we have learned.
And to your point, that $700,000 is going to go ahead and fall off next year's levy because they'll go ahead and go on their tax bill as a line item.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. It'll go somewhere.
Correct.
You know, because there's obviously health department and all those other
exactly
things.
Health insurance too, like Craig just said. So Anything else from anybody? Roll call.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield? Mr. Hess? Ms. Polk?
Aye.
Ms. Weber? Ms. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Featherling? Mr. Dennell? Mr. Miller? Mr. Long? Mr. Hunter? Ms. Armour Erps? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Mr. Chairman Wheeler.
Just forgot, and debt-free. So put that
Yeah.
on top of everything else, really functionally debt-free except for animal control,
Mhm.
which is paid for out of fines and fees. So, I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen.
Long-term debt gone. Thank you. Steve, anything else?
No, just FYI, I will be out of town for next month's meeting, but I believe I'll be able to Zoom in, but I won't see it till next year, so you guys
Have a
year.
great Christmas.
I won't see Nick till next year, really.
All right. Thank you, Steve, as always. Next up is the Treasurer's Office, Mr. Africano. Can I have a motion to combine and approve his reports?
I would move to approve the Deer Slayer's report.
Mr. Hunter makes the motion, second by Mr. Fairfield. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Africano.
There is, the only thing to report is that we are doing final distribution as we speak, and will be done by Friday. The tax cycle will be closed for the year. January 1, we will begin to take payments for early real estate tax payments on our Choices program. And I'm going to get out into the community, go to some churches, and try to publicize as best we can to get more and more. It's grown every year, but the more people know, you try to get it out there, and it's hard to disseminate information. So we will continue to do that, and I'll take questions if there are any.
Any questions from the committee? Ms. Earps.
I have a suggestion. How about getting the title companies on board with that, so when people close on their houses, they have the information?
It's a great idea. Thank you.
Yep.
I will add that to the list.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Hunter.
Nick, what are some of the highlights of your office and accomplishments? I know you guys have really good customer service. Anytime I go there, whether a phone call or if I physically go there, I mean, they're very accommodating. I don't have to wait. I mean, there's prompt service, and that takes care of a lot of issues. Anytime I refer people to your office, Stevie, thank you. That people have known me for a long time, call me Stevie, but and seniors as well too said, I didn't know I can get that stuff done so quickly. I said, hey, pretty efficient office, but I'm not blowing smoke, but I'm just telling you, giving you the feedback.
You're blowing a little smoke,
yeah,
Mr. Stevie.
But it's and it's kind of nice, as a government official, and you refer somebody and they have positive feedback, and as Chairman always says, outcomes.
I appreciate that, Steve. Everything I learned from Mr. McCarty. So thank you, Steve. No, I will say the greatest thing in my office is my staff. I have an incredible staff, and I'm very, very fortunate. So thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you, sir.
Happy holidays.
Are you going to go ahead and be here for the next meeting? Joking. Just joking. All right. Next up is the auditor's office. There's nobody here from the auditor's office. Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to point out that I've been on the board since March of 2021, so we're going on 3 years now. And last month was the first month that the auditor ever did a quarterly report, and I think that speaks volumes. And I've never seen him inside this office. So.
Yeah.
Mr. Hunter.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I know I got that report too, and I think I called the chairman and said, what's this? I mean, and as Mr. Hillebrand's indicated, it was kind of news, for me as well too. So, yeah.
All right. Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you. How do I put this? it's still in violation of the state statute. There was no ad put in the newspaper, which is required by the state statute to alert the public to the quarterly report. So it wasn't properly submitted or submitted to the county board. It wasn't vetted and talked to and under full review and transparency and accountability. Even though it was, hey, look, you know, I guess we got something for the, what, 4th or 5th time in almost 8 years. So I don't know the exact number, but it's unacceptable, I guess, in terms of a performance expectation, but not unexpected. But I will say this, that I will say this publicly. The judge put us under a gag order during the lawsuit. The auditor violated that gag order in this quarterly report. I'm asking the board to still remain not publicly discussing this lawsuit, okay? But I think it does bear knowing, or does bear discussion, that the auditor violated a gag order about this lawsuit in that quarterly report, and specifically talked about the lawsuit. So I can say and let the board know, and I've talked to our attorney about this. He's recovering from something right now, but the terms of the lawsuit are, he is suing us with taxpayer resources, saying that we do not give him accounting, do not let him do the accounting. We are countersuing him, saying we have tried to give you the accounting and you will not take the accounting. We've tried to give you the staff to do the accounting and you will not take those people. That's the crux of a lawsuit. So at the end of this, we're both going to win or we're both going to lose. Do you understand how stupid this whole thing is? Adults should be able to talk, because there are statutes between the treasurer and the sheriff. I'll give you a perfect example. If Dan Hendrickson wanted to do payroll, he could sue us and take it. Dan doesn't want to do payroll, I'm pretty sure, because we've asked him. But Anita found that that's a statute that should be in that office. It doesn't make sense because all the other financial stuff is up here. But that's adults working together to get the best job done for the taxpayers as efficiently as possible. So I'm just letting you know as a board, those are the terms of the lawsuit. We're really suing for the same thing. Unfortunately, if he wins his lawsuit, he still doesn't come back to work here. So the public is still paying for a ghost payroller. Thank you.
Okay. Any other business?
Me?
Oh, Ms. Parker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. While I have a minute, I am looking at Mr. Gessner and I see Mr. Cavender there. I want to thank them on behalf of DKG, our sorority, who took advantage of a tour through the morgue and saw how well that our taxpayers, our dollars are going, and explanation. 20-minute normal lecture during one of the meetings turned into an hour and a half because they were so interested in it. And the other one was ICANN, Pledge for Life were there talking about different things that the kids could hide drugs in, taking it to school. So I wanted to thank the coroner and especially Eric Cavender for the wonderful day that we had at Jerome Combs. And besides the thank yous from the Delta sorority, the first thing they said was, when can we go through the jail? So they were very excited.
Watch out, Sheriff.
Yeah, all the ladies wanted to go through the jail. So it was a wonderful experience for them, very informative and educational, and everyone really saw how Kankakee County operated, and I was very proud of our departments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Parker, for that. Anybody else? Other, old, new business? Mr. Huss, motion? Second by Mr. Fedling. All in favor say aye.
Aye.